Welcome to Alterlife. I'm Mirna, one of the senior curators and editors at Sonic Acts, and I will have the pleasure of guiding you throughout tonight's event. I will, however, not be alone here on the stage. At some point, Hanna Pezak and Dominika Mikolajczyk of Sonic Acts will also talk to our guests. So it might be a bit busy on the stage. We will not, however, all be at the same time here. But we do hope that you will like this small experiment of collectivity from Sonic Acts. Before we start, a few words about the event, very briefly. Maybe starting with the title. So Alterlife is our collaboration, Sonic Acts collaboration with Rupert residency in Vilnius, in the context of Reimagine Europe project, and organized locally together with a gallery space W139, who you all know. I don't see them here, but they are around, so shout out to Liam from Rupert, and to, hi Liam, and to Annette Wolfsberger, director of W139, who is also here. Hi. Hello. It's nice to collaborate. After being 2 months in Vilnius, we have welcomed artist Alina Schmuch to Amsterdam this February. She already gave a small talk this month at the very start of the residency and gave a very frosty walk, sewage and water infrastructure walk throughout the city from the Way to Athenaeum News Center. And tonight I will have the pleasure of talking to Alina a little bit after her film, Bathroom Studies, as you can see here. And as you also imagine, this is where the sewage part from this tonight's event comes from. And so Alina and other guests tonight who are sitting here in the front row, Koki Eik and Martina Raponi, noiserr, have also been featured in our newest Ecos magazine that is dedicated to sound and listening. You can read the magazine or buy it outside, close to the bar and close to the entrance from our colleague Rick. This gathering tonight we also see as a bit of an informal or expanded magazine launch. And in the spirit of that, our co-editor of Ecos, Hanna Pezak, will talk to artist and researcher Martina, noiserr. And we will also have a big pleasure of hearing Martina's theremin performance, which we're very much looking forward. But before that, there is Mud. We're all very happy to speak to Koki again, to have Koki again part of our programs after many wonderful workshops, and especially the mud walking tour, the extreme mud walking tour. I see here some of the participants from the tour that she led during the biennial called Muddy Muddy Mystery Tour. We won't just speak to Koki, right? So there will be more things, but I will leave that mystery to Dominika to reveal. And Dominika is a junior editor now at Ecos magazine and at Sonic Acts, a junior member of our team. She was an intern during the process of making Ecos, but she's now moving to be our junior member. So she will tell you all about it in a minute. Before I leave the stage, I will just tell you to scoop over if you can, or if there's any room. Maybe there's no more room. That's it. Okay. People might come in, but we will squeeze them somewhere. Okay. So, Dominika, you can take over, and I will see you a bit later.
Hi. Thank you, Mirna, for the introduction. I'm here mostly to introduce Koki Eik, who will be leading the next part of the program, which is an exercise, a somatic exercise about mud. Koki Eik is a spatial artist and designer who expands the power of perception in relation to our environment. Through her practice, she stages the human body in grounded experiments that explore movement, flight, and floating. She's also an active Taiji Wuxi song practitioner. And and a core teacher at the Art Science Interfaculty in The Hague. Having studied fashion design in the Netherlands, France, and Italy, Koki's Kumaguna dance costume, created in collaboration with Maria Blesse, were nominated for the Dutch Design Awards in 1997. And since 2001, she has been an active member of FOAM, a transdisciplinary network of labs at the intersection of art, science, nature, and everyday life. In 2005, she co-founded FOAM Amsterdam with Toon Karels. And she received a Prix Art Electronica honorary mention for the urban foraging app Boskoi. Koki, welcome. Thank you so much. Koki will be leading the exercise now, and I'll leave it up to her to tell you what we will be doing.
Okay. Well, great to be here with such a nice faces. Yeah, so I like to bring you up north of the Netherlands to Friesland, to the Waddenzee, and actually to the tidal plains there. And it's the biggest tidal plains of the Netherlands. Let me first orient ourselves. This is the north side. So normally when I stand on the edge of the Waddenzee, it is like this. So here's the Waddenzee. And the tidal plains go from Denmark, along the Netherlands, Germany, up to Denmark. It's 500 kilometers, 20 kilometers broad, and it are really tidal plains, which flood twice a day with water. The mud plains, and then also twice a day, of course, they become dry again. So it's this constant moving in relation to the cycles of all the planets. It's a great place for me to hang out. I do that often alone, but I also do it with groups of students and the Muddy Muddy Mystery Tour, all three of them bring their own qualities. And all creatures really live with this super dynamic space. So you have to adapt yourself constantly. So that's the quality you must have to engage with this landscape. I tried to connect you with the mud plains, which is kind of difficult exercise indoors, but what I did, I brought some mud balls from the mud plains, and they have three different tastes: natural, canelli, coconut, and fiesta. So you can each take one mud ball. And I do these flavors because I want you to get close to it, so you can lick a little bit and see how far you can go. But it's interesting. Yeah. So maybe share it around. Yeah. Yeah, maybe in the back. Yeah. The other side. They roll a bit against each other, so sorry for the mess. But yeah. Or maybe it's just treat them. Oh, can I have one? Yeah, thank you. Canelli is the brown one. No, the light brown one. The other one. This is neutral, blank. Yeah. They are made 2 days ago for the mud, so it was kind of wetty mud. So to get exactly the right... somebody's really chewing on it. So they get the right feel to it. Yeah, when you break them, it's yeah. Yeah. To be honest, what I really like about the everybody has a mud bowl. Yeah. Okay. You chew it?
Sadly. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was also not the idea. Sorry.
I didn't know. I just walked in and then.
You just walked in. Oh, just spit it out. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Put it under your chair. Yeah. No. But the great thing also about this, the mud, is really the smell. If you squeeze it a bit, the smell is really repulsive and attractive at the same time for me. So I love to have them in my pocket. Okay, it's a bit noisy. Huh? Everybody has one? Good. Yeah. Okay, great. Oh, you don't have a bowl? Come. Martina, yeah, okay. Okay, so I want to take you a little bit deeper. So maybe the light can go a little bit more dim. Because it's night, it's new moon. Remember, there's the north side, there's the Waddenzee. There is the south. And yeah, it's nice, it's getting darker. So these planes are the best to really to enter. So let's do it all together. Today, maybe it's also nice, if you want, you can stand up, because you can feel it better. You don't have to, but you can stand up. So the first step when you enter, the first steps, the first layer, it has layers. So the first layer is brownish, light brownish, greenish. And there are the little creatures who love sunlight are in it. So you can step on it. And you can feel a little bit the water already coming. And the top is warmish. Because it has been warmed a little bit by the sun. It was sunny today there, not here, there. And then we go a little bit deeper. You sink a little bit deeper. And there it is gray, a gray layer. And then you sink even a little bit deeper. And there is a pitch black layer. That is the layer where the mud balls are made from. It's pitch black because metal and sulfur, they react on each other. That causes that smell. And there's no oxygen there. And remember, down there, not only the water is moving, but also the ground under you is constantly moving. So when you sink a little bit deeper, it gets colder. So the top is now more warmer. Around your ankles, it's watery. And down there, under your soles, it's black and it's cold. Yeah. And also under your feet, you can feel tiny streams. Sometimes tiny bubbles, but something is flowing there. So that's a bit the situation. Now let me explain you about breathing in these places. So breathing is like ebb and flow. Breathing in is sticking your head in the blue sky. And you expand till you take the whole sky. That is breathing in. So you expand to the whole sky. Breathing out has nothing to do with breathing out, air out. Breathing out means sinking deeper. So you sink deeper. Okay, and when we breathe in again, it's expanding, expanding to the blue sky. Breathing out is sinking deeper. It's easy because the mud helps. It sucks you down. And it's a spiraling movement. So going down, it goes in spirals down, like a screw. And then also, at the same time, like a spiral, the force is coming up, out into the blue sky. So it's forming a cycle. You go up in the air, and down it goes up like a spiral. That's a bit how it is. It's great. Let's see how far you can sink. It's great to sink till the middle, around your navel, and see how that feels. Yeah. And then you can sink even a little bit deeper, completely with your head down in the black layer. And there are little shells, and they have long elephant tubes reaching the surface of the mud plains, and it's like a little hoover, and there they can suck in all the algae and single bacteria. So that's a way how you are connected to the upper layer and the down layer. And you can also swim a little bit more up to this first brownish layer. And it's actually recently discovered that there are living single-celled organisms. They're forming nice rows. Actually, it's a bit the formation you are standing here. So in rows, and they know exactly how to find. They are connected to the magnetic field, so it's a single-cell organism, it's a ball, and it has a little whiptail, and it can find exactly the north and the south. So I suggest we all facing, you can keep standing, but you're turning a little bit to the north. And then with your whiptail, you can scan exactly to the north the horizon. And then with your whiptail, you go back to the south while facing north. And you go to the north again, and to the south again. And you don't have to worry that anybody sees you because you're in the mud, so nobody sees you. And actually, many species, really also birds, really have their orientation exactly on this line, the north-south line. They're navigating there. Maybe I leave it a little bit here. We just step out. And then you can see how this situation is. I want to say this. This is a video by Anaïs. You're in the room also there. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So it's material. Yeah. So I hope I brought you. You can sit down again. But I hope I brought you a little bit to this place. It's very difficult to bring you there, but okay. It's an attempt. This is fine too. Yeah. You have a mic? sit.
Thank you so much, Koki, for getting us up and a little bit in movement. I think it's a nice way to settle in and really get into the mud. I had the pleasure of interviewing Koki for our latest edition of the Echoes magazine, which is the 7th edition, and it's a special double issue about listening and the unseen. I interviewed Koki within the context of fieldwork mostly, and her practice in the Frisian North. Koki, maybe you can tell us a bit about it. So how come you chose this landscape or mud as the medium that you'd like to explore, and what kind of artistic direction did this enable for you? Because before you focused more with working with inflatables. So I was wondering how similar or how different working with mud for you is within that practice.
All right. I think I'm very much attracted. So I work indeed with inflatables, but also maybe for 10 years now with the landscape. And it's basically, I love empty landscapes. So maybe it's especially where air is dominant. I like these kind of places. If there's a mountain or a hill, I found irritating. It has to go away. So, and I try to map the air in all kind of ways. And also, I'm often there, and what strikes me is also really the darkness. So you feel with also these tidal movements, very strong connections with all the cycles. What was the question?
No, I think we got a sense of that throughout the exercise a bit, and we also got the mud balls to bring us there. In the interview, we talked a little bit about tools or prototypes as interfaces for either for field work. Koki, you make your own tools, as I learned when I visited your studio, and I was wondering maybe you'd like to share a bit about what these objects are and how they shape our relation to space.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe a little table. Oh, sorry. It's always a mess. It's always a mess with me. Yes, it is okay. Okay. It's a bit leaky. Yeah. Okay. Now, let me take you to one tool as an example. So it is this tool. By the way, these are images from Jingli. And what I try to do with tools is to really to alter our perception of the landscape, even from inside and from outside. And it's very related. So as an example, this is a tool. You can, there's a little mirror here, and you can look with your right eye to a small piece in the sky. Then, same time, you are connected to a long rope, 30 meters, connected to one pole. This was on the big beaches of Terschelling. So it's again these empty spaces. And then you walk, your body is a little bit tilted, very important, out of balance. And you can only use your right eye to look in the sky. And you walk one big circle. It takes about 20 minutes. And then you stop in front of the ocean. And oh yeah, your ears are also blocked. You don't hear anything. Then you take the device or tool, you take it off, and you stand in front of the ocean. And then what happens is that everybody perceive the ocean different than ever before. It's like you see it really for the first time. And I have about 8 notebooks of what people perceive. Some say, oh my God, the sea is blue because of its sound. Some people can't help it, but they take off their clothes or not at all. And they keep walking into the ocean. Everything can happen. And so I use the tools, it's sort of resetting all your senses, which are all connected. And you take time, and also often in movement, and then you can perceive the landscape differently. Is there an example? Yeah.
I think that was great. Maybe you can expand a little bit of the sense of time and listening during fieldwork. Yeah.
During fieldwork. Time is essential for listening. Anyhow, listening is a key factor for fieldwork. If you do fieldwork with plans you have in your head you want to do, nothing will happen. It's all about making connection with the landscape, empty yourself, and to find the connection. But it takes time, and the great thing is also with like walking this circle, it's 20 minutes. So often also, you were there, Yingli, with a group of students, you feel the right time, for instance, to make a long walk. And it's completely boring in the beginning. It's like, well, this is boring. And it's late. And I'm also like, and then we go, and then we walk, and then we jump over a thing, and then somebody suddenly gets stuck in the mud. And it takes a long time. It takes about 40 minutes to get somebody out. Then again, the next person gets stuck, and so on. And it's getting late. We have to hurry. Come on, guys, there's dinner. We are already 1.5 hours late. And but we keep on walking till you can't walk anymore. That's also a very human thing, natural thing. You always want to go till you can't go no further. And I remember it was, the sun was setting, and we were standing there as a group, and we were about to return, and one person said, let's listen, all together. And then, we just listened as a group, and each as an individual, and it was such a magic moment. So it made such a strong, it was the beginning of a week we spent there together, but it was sort of one moment that you all feel or sense something, and then after that, I think everybody worked 24 hours a day, automatically on something. So listening is time, it's about time and also emptying yourself.
That's really beautiful. I have many questions for Kaki, but before that, I would maybe first like to ask if, from the audience if any of you has a question for Kaki about her work, about the exercise we just did, or the film. I think there will be a mic passed on if somebody has one. But if not, then I'll ask you a question.
Do so.
Could you please also maybe tell us more about the role of somatics in your practice and in fieldwork? How do you explore this practice, and how do you see it as significant with maybe our relation to the environment?
Yeah, maybe it's like what I said before. Listening is something you do with your whole body. To be honest, I don't listen with my ears. I never know what to listen to. So I get nervous when I'm around people who work a lot with sound. I'm like, what are they hearing? I don't know. So I sometimes even haven't heard anything. But I listen. I think I listen to complete other things or so, through things and with things. So, yeah, maybe I have to try to describe it. But what was the question? Somatics. Yeah, I think I do it most. I do it also with the students, but I do also mostly alone. So I do all kind of exercises, and yeah, maybe I do it through listening. So, for instance, if there's a certain wind and there's a movement, I repeat it constantly, just to really, or the currents under your feet, or you listen under your feet. Yeah, and then you come to things, but nothing for me is separated. So the smell, movement, vision, I try to diminish it because it's too dominant. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Koki. I think we're running out of time and we need to move on to the next parts of the program. But thank you, Koki, so much for being here. For anyone interested more in Koki's work, there will be a break and then you can chat to her. Or you can also read more about her work in the Echoes magazine that we're selling outside. Thank you.
Small nice. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, me again. Thank you so much, Koki and Domenica. Thank you for this muddy introduction to the program. We're now going to sewage. I still have a mud ball in my hand, so I'm juggling. That's why things are a bit awkward, but I'll be here just a short amount of time to introduce Alina. I'll just say briefly about Alina, and then we will watch the film. So Alina Schmuch works in the mediums of photography, film, and graphic design. She studied at the Karlsruhe University of Arts and Design and was part of the postgraduate program at Jan van Eyck Academy in Maastricht. Her work has been shown in exhibitions and screenings at ZKM Karlsruhe and Museum Folkwang Essen, for example, and internationally at Mack Center in LA, and together with forensic architecture at the Architecture Biennale in Venice. Her beautiful artist book, Script of Demolition, was published by Spectre Books in Leipzig. Currently, she is involved in Hydromedia, an artistic research program focusing on water's vital role in our lives and addressing on environmental challenges. So the film we will see is part of her series Bathroom Studies that started in 2022 and is ongoing, in which the bath is presented as an interface where technology and body meet and where the relationship between the public and the intimate is negotiated. So film is 18 minutes long. After the film, we'll have a Q&A. Until then, enjoy the screening.
Niet gezien. Und im Prinzip werden die eben auch vom Computer so zusammengefügt, dass der rechnet aus anhand von der Position von solchen Merkmalen. Das sind in dem Fall hier diese Poren, die letztendlich so zufällig auf dem Beton angeordnet sind und dementsprechend ja auch wie so ein Fingerabdruck kann man hier eben diese Muster wiedererkennen in Folgebildern und kann die dann genau aufeinanderlegen und genau ausrechnen, wie sich das System bewegt haben muss zwischen den zwei Aufnahmezeitpunkten. Und damit entsteht dann eben auch so ein geschlossenes Mosaik, weil wir eben genau rekonstruieren, wie wir gestanden haben und wie die Geometrie von dem Rohr war.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah, we're very happy that you're here in Amsterdam and that you're also researching and filming bathrooms and waterways. Let me organize myself. Maybe we should start, or maybe we should talk first about the film we just saw. I'm mostly interested in how did this project of bathroom studies start? Was it something, a topic you have been pursuing for a longer time, and then it culminated in this film, or how did it come to be?
So I've been researching on water infrastructures for quite a long time now, and this whole occupation started with a project about the open sewage system in the Ruhr area, and I was working with an archive with images from engineers that started around like 1900, so quite early. And for me, it was just super interesting to look at this sewage system. So how it lies open, because due to coal mining in this region, the ground was sinking, so they couldn't build a system underground. And already at the time, photography was a very important tool to monitor this process of the landscape and to document damages. And I was really interested in this idea to control the landscape, but also, kind of the impossibility of this attempt. And I was also quite interested in the sewage system, as that is normally invisible in our everyday lives, and yet there's such a direct line of connection to, like, from the landscape through the infrastructure to our bathroom and then our own bodies. And and in this first episode, I really wanted to trace this line of connection and make this interior space visible from different directions. So on one hand, you see these operational images of the inspection robots that kind of explore this space underground. And on the other hand, the performer explores the bathroom, so kind of the end of the pipe, with her whole body, or the beginning.
I think you recently said something which I found it very, very interesting, that what we see here are these photographs of these spaces that are kind of unreachable to us, and also the robot. And so maybe you can speak a little bit about the photography and filmmaking for you in that sense, to kind of touch or to kind of capture something that is hard or invisible for us to see.
Yeah, I mean, so these inspection robots, they were quite recently invented, and they're still tested now. And they have a super complex system of cameras. So they have like numerous cameras, then also a flashlight that synchronizes all the cameras, and then a video camera which films like the robot itself as some kind of control mechanism again. And these footage is stitched together in a kind of virtual reality, that kind of give access to this black box of the sewage system, which is very dangerous also to access. So in this archive, there's, for example, images of photographers also being in the sewage system, like in the canal, and it's of course a very dangerous place. And for me, it was really interesting to like work with this scientific material or this very documentary approach, but also kind of break this with these performative sequences to see a bit like these different layers of reality also, and also these different modes that we come into touch with water. So in a very scientific way, for example, but also in our everyday lives, or like for some people, maybe even like in a spiritual way, or
Yeah, that is interesting because you show this kind of highly technological kind of aspect of this public infrastructure, and then you kind of contrast it with this kind of, as you say, the end of the process or the beginning of the process, this kind of bath and the performer. And I found this contrast very interesting. Maybe you can expand a bit on that relation between these kind of, the body and this high-end technology that kind of lies at the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also looking at the moment, for example, also in Amsterdam or in the following episodes. Also, I'm working with hydrogeologists together who also have like other tools of monitoring the system, but also, for example, for the drinking water supply to create, for example, also a virtual twin of the drinking water system. And I'm really interested in how scientists visualize this space and to kind of access it, and also like how they use models, for example, of the Rhine. I was filming a huge model of the Rhine, and that is also in this Ecos magazine.
Yeah, on the cover even, right?
And then I'm working with performers and sequences that have a bit more this embodied aspect, but it's also I'm really interested in, or like I'm a bit obsessed with bathrooms, I have to say.
I wanted to ask that because these two are pretty great, I have to say, that you film.
And I mean, most of the time their bathrooms are quite standardized, so it's not really easy to find good examples. But I'm really interested in these different kind of examples, like from very high-tech bathrooms that kind of measure the body also, that are a bit more understood as a health center, for example, but also this very historic examples, which have more like an animistic shape. And I'm interested in like activating these spaces in a bit different way also, like to kind of use them in a bit uncommon way, or like, and also a bit the question, who's here the protagonist, also the performer, or like the architecture around it.
That is something you call like undesigning the bath, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is very interesting here, these two bathrooms that you show. Do you have more examples in other films? And maybe you can tell us, like, you were in Vilnius, so maybe a bit about that. Did you see more interesting bathrooms? I'm also now interested in bathrooms. This is quite a topic. I mean,
after, like, I'm still collecting different typologies of bathrooms always, but now after this episode, I was working on an episode about that is more looking at the connection of the landscape to bathing culture, and that is also the topic of the episode in Vilnius, because there's a huge groundwater body beneath our feet, and I was also filming like how hydrogeologists monitor this water, like take water samples, or like to drill in the ground to get access to water quite easily there. And then I was going to Druskiniki. I hope I pronounced it right.
I wouldn't know.
And there is, it's a bit like a spa town, and this is very impressive architecture, very much influenced from the Soviet architecture, and there is also like healing treatments in bath, and also with mineral water. So there's like a direct connection to the landscape and to the water.
Can you tell us a bit more about these healing kind of bathrooms, or a spa is this kind of healing bodily kind of space? I noticed that, well, a bit less here, but maybe in your other work a bit more. And I noticed you mentioned it also, that in Vilnius you went there, and I think in Amsterdam you also went to a spa.
Mm-hmm. To the sauna deco, which was also quite impressive. Also highly decorated. I mean, this one was also...
the name says,
that is from Paris and was dismantled there and then rebuilt here in Amsterdam. And yeah, I think I'm really interested in this space of collective healing, or like being together there to to have this physical experience also together. And I was also wondering if these spaces also can play maybe a more important role in like the digital workspace era, like to
It's also interesting that in the bathroom one is usually alone, but in these healing spaces it's, as you say, a collective space. So that's quite an interesting kind of move from a very private kind of one person bathroom to a very collective kind of bath space. I find it quite interesting.
And maybe the most collective is that I'm going to film tomorrow, because there is also in Amsterdam, I mean, of course you live here, like most of you, but there are these sunken toilets in the public space, and they are kind of underground, and when it's getting busy at the weekend, they kind of rise up, and it's a bit like this public choreography of toilets coming up in the city, which is kind of super interesting.
That is very interesting. But I have to say, you did show us one at the walk that you did, and I was standing to a person who was an older person who lived all their life in Amsterdam. They had not heard of that.
No.
So I don't know if people in the audience know about it. Do you know about it? Yeah, these toilets that come up. There's one in front of Paradiso. There's one on the Dam Square. They come up from the ground, and in the evening, they're activated by a guy on a scooter.
Yeah.
But maybe we can also ask the audience first. Maybe we can see, do we have any questions from the audience or comments? Maybe more a comment than a question. Yeah? Oh, okay. Here is the mic.
It was really nice to watch the film. Thank you. I had a question. Maybe Mirna already asked about it a bit, but between the robot or this like robotic, very highly programmed movement, and then the performer who also looks like it. Yeah, I mean it's probably improvisation, but then. Yeah, I was like a bit staying with this parallel, like images that a bit overlap but also highly contrast. And I was wondering if you want to tell us a bit more about the robotic part or in relation to that.
I mean, this one robot that you saw that looks a bit like a dog or has like 4 legs. This robot has also a lot of sensors on the feet, so it's has almost almost like a haptical sense, and can kind of create its own cartography of the sewage system, and move autonomously. And I think for me this it was very much a tension, like to bring this together with the performer with her feet, then exploring like the sink, and also I think in general like these sinks or basins, I also document them a bit like sculptural objects that kind of hold the body, but also water, and are also a bit like mediators between these infrastructures. And I'm always very curious like how they are designed, and but like the process with the performer is also quite intuitive somehow. And I also worked together with her in several projects already, so we have also a bit like a connection to develop something together.
I found it very funny that the robot is called Animal. Animal, yeah. That was a nice sequence.
Maud?
My question. Thanks for the very beautiful film. my question follows a bit on this one, or it's very similar, but it's also about the body of the performer, because I was really quite fascinated by the choice, or by how maybe you made the choice of this certain body, and then also the textures in the skin. Like at a certain moment I thought like, oh, okay, why this body and not someone else, or why isn't it different bodies in different sequences, or and then at the end I was really looking at the skin of the legs and the heels, and how it was also like a bit wounded or hurted or a bit dirty, maybe even. Like there's something which makes you, even in my case at least, hover back, like. So I was wondering how this took shape, and then I start thinking about, okay, like the toxic elements also of a sewage system, and our bodies as prolongations of it. And so I was wondering how you imaged all these, or
yeah, thank you, super interesting. I mean, as I was saying, I have also a bit like a longer collaboration with this one performer, but I'm also working with different performers. For example, when I was in Vilnius, I filmed a performance in the river Neris together with Lithic Alliance, also another artist that was part of the residency program. And here I was filming at the Sauna Deco with Mariko Hori, who is also here today, over there. Yeah, so I think I often also go with the flow a bit sometimes. Like when I'm in Amsterdam, I'm also collecting a lot of different materials and things that kind of interest me, and work together with people that interest me. And and then in the end, in the edit, I make like more decisions, actually, like a bit more stricter decisions. But of course, it plays a role, of course, how these bodies look like, and also how the furniture looks like. I think also, and because I think they also mirror a certain body image also in different times that are created around this. Yeah, and what you also said about the toxic element is also a topic that I'm very much interested in. Here I was also filming in a water purification facility, which is really like a new high-tech facility that was just built, like it's not even open.
In Amsterdam?
It's close to Amsterdam. And and it was also really like a closed system. So I'm also interested in this idea of what this is, clean water, actually, because water is always a carrier also for something else. So when it's like super clean, then it's actually not healthy for our bodies. So also to understand water as a medium, and like how is this informed by the landscape, by sediments, by contamination. And what does it tell about the environment that it comes from?
Any more questions?
Hi. Maybe just, this is a bit of a leading question, but now that you've done this project in a few different places, in Germany, in the Ruhr Valley, and Vilnius here, I'm sure gathering other material as well, what do you see as the big differences between these two places? Whereas you say things are very standardized with both sewage and with bathing culture in different places, what do you see as the initial impressions of how these things vary from place to place?
Yeah, I mean, when I compare, for example, or it's maybe also hard to compare, I have to say, but I mean, in the Netherlands, I'm also very fascinated by this idea of engineering the landscape. I mean, that is so present here. Like, it's, I think, the foundation. I don't know.
Especially in relation to water, of course.
To water. And for example, I was also visiting the computer museum quite recently, where like the first analog computers were used also to like monitor streams of water and water infrastructures. And I think, yeah, I found it quite interesting that this is so intertwined like this. Yeah, it's almost a bit like an operational landscape, this idea. And yeah, for example, in Vilnius, I think there was just this groundwater body very present, that people on the countryside still like just drill a hole in the water and then they have their own water supply, and it's still, yeah, I mean, quite okay, I think. I don't know, it depends, yeah. But I think, yeah, the approach also to deal with the landscape, I think is one different, like a huge different, but also, of course, like how the architecture is designed in different times, and yeah, I mean, there's so much. And also, I'm also really interested in spaces of science, and yeah, in Vilnius, I was also visiting the kind of museum of hydrogeology, where they had a lot of samples. It was also very impressive. So, yeah, I somehow I also would like to collect these different spaces and bring them together in a kind of montage to, yeah, to be able to look at them a bit more closely.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about, you mentioned operational landscape, maybe a bit about that, and also in relation to what you call technological landscape. So maybe, because you already explained it a bit, but maybe just to be clear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's even like a defined term that one can use, but yeah, I think, yeah, it's like this, especially when it comes to water, because it's so hard to grasp, and it's so crucial for us that we so much depend on it. So it's constantly monitored, and yeah, with a lot of technology, and especially in the Ruhr area, where we saw these inspection robots, it's also like above now there's quite a classical landscape image that is, yeah, like how we would imagine a landscape to look like. But this is only possible because underground there's this high-tech system. So yeah, I was also thinking about that a lot, like what kind of landscape image this is, or no.
Yeah, okay. Should we ask for the end the audience to maybe tell us a bit of, okay.
Thank you. My question actually is built upon by following the first one, like besides of like a parallel investigation between the human body and the like invented technology, where they perceive this complex sewage infrastructure. Like I noticed also in the last phase, you address the relationship between the non-human agent, the parrot, and their intervention to the system. Can you maybe tell us like a few words, or like what is your hidden message or the decision making on this shot? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, this was also, I mean, I came across this bathroom that was inhabited by these canaries. So it was also kind of a unique, yeah, they inhabited. But of course also these birds were also used in coal mining to, as some kind of, like to track the air condition. So it had also a bit like a relation to that, but yeah, on the first place, I think it was also really like that their sound also made, yeah, I was interested in this, like how they animate this space and also this running water. So, yeah.
Maybe we can have a question for the audience. Maybe they can tell us about interesting bathrooms in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
How about that? Does anyone know an interesting bathroom? Yeah? Ooh, okay.
Many interesting bathrooms.
Yeah.
I traveled and stayed with a nomad family, and their bathroom was about 150 meters away from their yurt, and it was standing alone in the landscape, and had three sides, and one open to the field. And then, at a certain moment, I was there, and then the soil started to shake, and I didn't know what was going on. And then a whole herd of horses came by, and it was a kind of soft soil, a very beautiful one.
Wow, that's quite a bathroom. I think there was, yeah. Oh. Yes, there.
Thanks for the video. My background is actually water engineer, and also was trained as a social scientist later on. And I'm also curious about how people from humanity looks water, because it's getting more and more important. It's out of what engineer can engineer. So the problem that is going to be happen because of the climate change. So what it's not like a question, but how I interpret also, it's your video, I feel like it's portrayed how our body, like human body, it's also connected to infrastructure and technology. Because I'm here in Europe for around now 3 years. So I learned that people have a very different relationship with water, especially in urban area, because water is just something that just came out of tap. Maybe when they were young, they would go for excursion to see treatment plant. I think that's it. I think most people relate to water as H2O or something that is come out of tap. And then maybe yearly they will pay their bills, and they don't even know how much it is until maybe in Amsterdam, someone live in Amsterdam, they know that. Maybe because of the water net start to have problems, and then they suddenly receive a lot of bills, and then they were surprised. A lot of people were surprised. So, yeah, the relationship between water, it's something they don't even think about it mostly. So I feel like your video a bit of provoke how our bodies also related to invisible infrastructure and technology. So I am also looking forward to more of these type, but also a bit more provoke and more sensitized that our body is also connected to invisible infrastructure. That's my comment.
Thank you. Yeah, would be great to exchange.
Yes, and maybe, did you have a bathroom in mind? Yeah, please tell us for the end, and then we all go to the bar.
Thank you for your talk. Maybe it's not that special here in Amsterdam, but it's a really typical Dutch and Amsterdam bathroom, I think. I was in high school, and one of my friends had this bathroom, and there was a toilet, a sink, and a shower in 1 square meter. And that's just really what I envisioned with like Dutch bathrooms now, and especially ones in Amsterdam in like these tiny apartments. And you had to like shower and make sure you didn't make the toilet paper wet. And then if you wanted to go to the toilet or brush your teeth, it was this maneuvering of doing all these activities that you do in a bathroom in this tiny, tiny space.
Yeah, that would be also super interesting. Hard to film, but
yeah, really hard to film.
But the performer could do miracles there.
True, yeah. Yes.
Okay, maybe we continue talking at the bar. I think we have a lot to talk about still.
Thank you.
Okay. See you all in 20 minutes. We do have a bell, so we will tell you when to come in. We will be joined by Hannah Pezak and Martina Raponi, theremin performance. Please do not miss that.
I am the assistant editor of Ecos magazine. I also work as a junior curator at Sonic X. And I'm here with Martina Raponi, whose work was published in Ecos as an extract of her now published book, or forthcoming book, 2025 book. So we're going to have a little chat, and then afterwards Martina will be performing with the theremin, which is very exciting. So noiserr is an interdisciplinary research group focused on exploring noise. Through deconstructed reading and listening sessions, as well as theory and practice-based investigations, the group delves into the many layers of noise and its meanings. This ever-shifting and nomadic group is facilitated by Martina Raponi, a writer, artist, and PhD candidate researching noise and complexity. She is the author of Strategie del Rumor, 2015, and Sophotopias, Noise, Sounding Out the Unheard, 2025. Together with M. Dudek, she founded the Ansible Institute, a trans-tree speculative fiction laboratory. Martina is part of the NRU, Noise Research Union, and is an art theory tutor at the Willem de Kooning Academy in Rotterdam. Her work, both individual and collaborative, has been presented at festivals and institutions, including Noordelicht, Stripped Festival, Worm, Sonsbeck, Café Otto, Unsound, Maxi Museum, and many, many others. So, Martina, would you be so kind as to introduce your theremin? I believe it has a name, and what is that name, and who is she named after? And can you explain a little bit more? Why is it your chosen instrument? And for those who are not maybe familiar with how a theremin works, could you just tell us a little bit about its workings?
I can. Also, I heard when you were introducing me, I heard interdisciplinary.
Yeah.
And then I thought, what a cool neologism. And then I thought, whoa, you might be onto something here. So I do interdisciplinary work.
I'm a dyslexic editor. It's a paradox.
But listen, Hannah, you just created something that I will hold dear onto, you have no idea. So, which connects brilliantly to theremin's name. Because to the Ansible Institute. So, because I don't know if anybody knows what the Ansible is. Nobody, but that's okay. I'm not, but I will tell you now. So the theremin's name is Ursula, and she's named after Ursula Le Guin, of course. And the Ansible is a device that Ursula invented in one of her stories, and it is a device that is meant to sort of connect instantaneously people across galaxies and planets, interdisciplinary communication. Sorry, not sorry, it's brilliant. So this is the stand-up comedy part of the evening. Of course, I consider Ursula Le Guin as the empress of sci-fi, along with an Olympus of other feminist sci-fi writers. So, for me, it was a no-brainer the moment I got the theremin. It was a present. Because I had been, toying with the idea of playing an instrument and making noise with an instrument. And, of course, I have a lot of stuff in my studio, but nothing really stuck for a long time because it's just I don't know. I just cannot approach it in a way that I feel mine. And I think the theremin as for me as everything that comes into my sort of gravitational field. Sorry, I'm a Trekkie, so I also choose this is my it's full of gravitons. But so everything that comes into my gravitational field somehow has multiple layers. So in this case, the theremin, yes, because also with my background and how I sort of see the body as this sort of linguistic medium, with the experience with sign language and so on and so forth, it felt like the one sort of tool, device, or vessel that can sort of also transform, like a sort of bodily endeavor into also a sonic outcome, which for me is never preferential. So that's one part, but then the other part is also that the theremin is an instrument. My favorite book is Lev Termen's biography. I would recommend it. Desert Island. I would go there and read it 100,000 times up until I die. But his life, sorry, I said that with such gravity, but it's true, because I think his life was like very emblematic on many levels, and it was like this sort of moment in history when like a lot of inventions were at the forefront, but also the run to patents and how to sort of make inventions part of an industrial complex and commercialization and so on and so forth, and political climate and so on and so forth. I will not go on, but in this trajectory, like his life, Lev Termen's life, sort of then like was just relegated into the shadow of the political giant he was crushed by, and the theremin at the same time was also relegated into a cliche. Right, so the sound just became this one thing that we remember from sci-fi movies from the 50s, and even the whole history of how the instrument was utilized was to sort of replicate, at least at the beginning, to replicate a repertoire of classical music that was also sort of, in a way, trying to mimic something that this was not meant to play. I think, because this, imagine this 100 years ago. Like, it's insane to think, that you could make electronic music with air, like, come on. So anyway, Lev Termen, genius. Remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, when I think of sci-fi, if I think of a sound, it is the sound of the theremin. It's like the sound of the future from the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The retro future.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a little bit about this experience. So you grew up as the child of a deaf adult, which is known as the acronym CODA, and you've written very beautifully about how, as a child, you would lay your head against your father's back and ask him to speak so that he could learn the sound of your voice through the vibrations. This is such a beautiful anecdote, I think, and quite formative for the way that you approach sound as a relational and vibrating matter. Can you elaborate a little bit further on that and how your thinking around sound has expanded from this formative experience?
Yes. Okay. I think that specific moment was really important for me, actually, to understand why I was interested in noise. But and it took a while, and it took also my father's passing to actually understand that there was also for me like a big portion of fetishization of sound, or at least the vibrational translation of sound for people who cannot hear sound. Or at least cannot hear sound as a whatever fully abled body person is, even, which I think is also like a sort of virtual projection of, that doesn't exist. Also because, we look at deafness as this sort of stigmatized condition, but at the same time we ignore that all of the technologies that we use, like for entertainment or just for private use, are actually built with a sort of normalized sort of deterioration of how your senses should react to it. So, like it's engineered how much hearing you should lose when you're you know, listening through your headphones, and that's okay. So you're becoming a little deaf, but that's accepted because you're still buying into the big capitalist game. Anyway, but it, like the moment I sort of realized how I could also, in a way, deconstruct this sort of fetish, and this became very present the moment everybody started. I mean, not pointing fingers, not, you know, it's just like an observation. Everybody's listening, everybody's doing things with listening, and then I asked myself many times, like, okay, who's this listening for, and what are we actually doing? You know. And it goes back to that moment, that the sort of contact, right? But also how that contact is immersed into like an environment, but also a sort of systemic network of things that actually make me painfully think of how hard my father tried to actually listen and learn my voice, right? In a specific framework. I mean, we all know. You know, oppression happens at many levels, and you know, stigmatization and so on and so forth. Now, again, but that became part of my work, and also why I started, like, also trying to think how can I bring the listening beyond audibility in order to include, not to force into this conversation, also practitioners and performers that are actively working on sound and on their own sonic practices, even without having full access to what is audible. So how can we give a space to, you know, like, why do we, well, anyway, like, yes, we can deep listen, but we can do it also with other strategies. You know, sorry, am I babbling too much? We have 3 minutes more. I'm checking too.
You're on point. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to ask really quickly, like, because I think this leads on very beautifully to your concept of the unheard, yeah, which is the title of your collaborative installation, which was exhibited at Noordelijk Photography Foundation in Groningen, and it's kind of the central theme of your essay in Eco 7. Can you explain a little bit what it is and how it functions in your work?
Yeah, I mean, the installation is, well, it's complex, but it all started actually with the theremin. So, and again, I want to point out that, like, I'm really at the beginning of the exploration of what I can do with this instrument. And I think that Unheard, which was a work made in collaboration with Imer Marinus, who's an artist and creative coder, we work together with Turquoise, an organization that promotes deaf culture and deaf language. Based in Groningen, we worked with a group of deaf people, and we discussed artificial intelligence and AI-generated avatars and so on and so forth. And because the whole point of the exhibition was to show the sort of the world through the lens of AI. And we used a sensor to a self-trained AI model that we trained with 3 signs from Dutch Sign Language that emerged from these conversations, and they were data, representation, and sign language. And then the AI model was connected to a sensor that was capturing, of course, movement of the body. People could look at these signs and then try and replicate them. So in a way, like, it was not meant as an educational installation, but we wanted people to also take something away. So at least you might walk away knowing how to sign language, right? But then the whole point was to sort of play with the multisensorial translation that is often also sold as this inclusive tool, but grounding it in sign language, so that because the whole point of the unheard is, like, of course, not only what cannot be physically heard, but also the sort of constraints and all of the other elements that can not only constrain but also enhance the experience of listening. And in this case, one of the examples that I give also in the text is deaf musicking, which is grounded in language. The main paradigm, of course, the main channel is visuality, so it's sight, but then at the same time, the whole sort of articulation of it unfolds from the linguistic experience of, moving your body. So that's it. And we're within time.
Just about. Maybe we have one. Does anyone have a very quick question? Otherwise, maybe you can save it for Martina at the bar. But I really encourage everyone to read the essay and buy the book when it comes out.
I don't know when it comes out, but
I will soon.
No, don't make me cry now.
It's a really great read.
No.
Right, ready?
Maybe not. You know. Giro, giro tondo, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro tondo, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro tondo, giro, giro tondo, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro tondo, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro tondo, giro, giro tondo, casca il mondo, scala giù per terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il mondo, casca la terra, tutti giù per terra. Giro, giro, casca il Giro
Thank you so much, Martina. Wow. Yeah, thank you to Myrna, Dominica, Koki, Martina, and everyone for coming tonight. It was wonderful to have you. If you'd like to buy a copy of Ecos, there are some at the front desk, or just flip through it. There's some really beautiful pictures of Martina's work, of Koki's practice. And yeah, thank you so much.